Hi, I'm Scout Wonder. Welcome to another Wonderwoods video. This is the second part of finishing these stairs. In the last video, I showed how I fit from here up all those treads to get them fit and looking good. This part here was already in. Had carpeting from here over to here, and there's a lot of tacks, staples, things like that you can see that I've been working on patching. I am also working on finishing the outside of the stairs, getting that stain off so that I can restain these. So there's going to be a lot of staining, sanding, tons of sanding, and I'm going to show you some finishing tricks for doing these steps. So I'm going to keep sanding. My detail sander is getting a real workout on this job. I got to get around all of these all the way up to there and get all the stain sanded off. And there's a couple spots here where I can't get anything in there, so I'm going to be hand sanding that too. So I sanded all around the bottom of these with the detail sander, and it gets pretty close, but it doesn't quite get all the way in there. So what I do is I fold up a piece of paper. This happens to be a disc, but you could use regular sandpaper anyways. Regular sheet. And get it nice and tight in the corner like that to get that final piece. Now I sand across grain first, which everybody will tell you don't sand across grain, but it's fine as long as you finish with the grain. So I'll do across here like that. I actually already sanded this side, and then I'll finish with the grain. These will be nice like that. Dun-dun. And then the last step, so you get back with the grain, is to sand this right here like that, just a little bit to get rid of that scratch pattern. We just went on vacation last week to Panama City Beach, and I like to fish. If you don't know that, I like to fish a lot. And I fished on the beach, and I caught a shark. It was pretty cool. Been dying to show everybody. I got a video of me reeling it in. I didn't actually catch it. I got the hook back. I was throwing a little casting spoon. I say little. It was a big casting spoon with a big hook on it, big treble hook. And I thought it would cut the line off, but did not. The lure came back and two of the hooks were chewed off. Came back with a treble hook with only one hook. That's as close as I got to ever catching a shark. I've never even seen them before on the beach, but they were chasing bait fish. And I'm going to show you, because it was pretty heavy with sharks that night. It's pretty cool. We followed them for a while. Everybody was just watching them eat the bait fish. And I happened to hook one of them. That was about the end of it. It's pretty cool though. So I've never been in prison, but I'm pretty sure this is the kind of work they have me do. The treads are all sanded. All I got left to do is this handrail. On these bottom treads, there's a couple places where the treads aren't very tight to this outer piece. They didn't need to make them tight because they were covered with carpeting, but I made some little shims on the treads that I made, different sizes here, and I'm going to try to get them in there to be a filler instead of just caulking it. The rest of it's going to be white on these faces, so that can get caulked, that'll be fine. But this bigger gap right here, I can hardly handle that, so I'm going to see if I can't repair that. A little glue in there. Just want to push it down in there. It's going to be pretty good. I have to do some sanding to blend it all in, but I'm pretty happy with that. I wasn't going to mess with this one, but I like that patch so much, I'm going to mess with this one. That looks pretty good too. So where these gaps are bigger, the go-to move would be caulk it, because this is getting painted white. But I'm going to put some filler down here underneath it to start out. So if the color happens to match, it looks good and the filler holds. That'll cover all those gaps up. At the very least, there was going to be caulk all the way out to here to fill these gaps. So that's the last move, is to have the caulk show up. All I got left to do after I got all these trimmed back, a little final sanding, get in the corners, finish it up. Again, I'm sanding across the grain right here, and then I'll finish up with the grain after I get everything level, just like this. I'll do that to all these treads. I've got the treads sanded and stained. Now it's time to put some finish on them. I am upstairs, have a fan in the window to pull air up and out and expel it that way. I've got the front door open right behind you, so the air is going to come right through here and up there. I'm going to spray sealer and then a top coat of crystal. Both of them are crystal products. The crystal dries quickly and it's super durable. We use it on our tables and everything like that, so it works great here on stairs. And it dries fast, which I really like. I like the crystal because it dries fast, and after about 20 minutes I was able to sand it with 320 grit. After I sand it, I just cleaned it off by blowing it with the turbine from the spray gun and brushing it off with a dry brush. I set up with some cardboard out here on the front porch so I can mix up my finish. I am using the Crystal High Build Sealer, which is what I used for the first coat. I'm using that for the second coat as well. And I wanted to show you how I mix it because it has a 10-to-1 ratio, meaning it has 10% catalyst in it. So just to keep things simple for me, this is how I measure it out. I just pour about how much I need into my cup, and then I drop a stick in there. It gets wet and it gets to this point right here. I need 10%, so I just divide that in half, just visually. I know that that's about 50%. Do that in half again, 25, half again, about 12 and a half. So I know 10 is about right here. So I just transcribe that mark up to here, about that same distance, and then fill up my catalyst to that top mark. That gets me 10% catalyst. Right there. And that's ready to go. Now I'm going to add a little bit of thinner to it to make it flow a little better. Not much, just a little bit. People always ask me, how much thinner do you add? You can't really do it too wrong. If you have it too thick, it'll just spray kind of chunky. It'll be orange peely. Too thin, it can run on you, but you'll know. Put about that much, just to thin it down a little bit. And then the other thing I'm going to do to this finish on this coat is that I've got a sample here. This is a sample of the stair treads, stained and sealed, just like I did inside. And I am going to add a little bit of green to it. The floors are white oak, this is red oak, so it's got a little bit of red hue to it. I'm going to add a little bit of green to this top coat, trans tint green, and that color will help. It's the opposite of black. It's it's complementary of the red. The green is, so it'll kind of kill the red color and make it more brown instead of red. So what's going to end up happening is the treads are going to be probably a little bit darker than the floor. I can't do much about it since they're red oaks, but they will not have the red tone to it. They'll lean more towards the green kind of, well, the color of the white oak. So I'm going to add a little bit of this green to it. And you're going to ask me, how much green? And you're going to get the same answer that I always give. Some. How's that? Not that much green, a few drops. And I kind of stir it up. And then kind of see what it's doing on the stick. And I can get a feel for it. It's kind of green, not too green. I'm going to set up to spray this sample, just spray a section of it. Kind of see how it is, see if I got enough green in there to do the job. If I need less green, obviously I'll mix up some more finish. I don't think I put too much in, so that won't be a problem. And if I don't think it's green enough, I'll add a little bit more green to make a difference when I'm spraying. So I'm going to set up to spray this sample. Didn't really change it too much. We probably add a little bit more green, I think. I want to add just a little bit more green. This middle section right here is where I added the green. You can see how it looks a lot more like this white oak flooring. It's red there. And this is where I started out originally. Put some green in it, but not enough. This is a pretty good match right there. Here is a straight down view of the final color. Looks pretty good from this angle. I've got the stair treads and handrails done. Next up is to caulk and then paint. I am going to start off here with these bigger gaps. There's some really big ones. And I'm going to caulk those today. I'm going to come back tomorrow and actually do the final caulking and painting. But on these bigger gaps, you gotta get those caulked first so they can dry and then shrink, and I'll actually caulk those again tomorrow. If you just caulk them today and paint them, then they'll shrink in and you'll be able to tell where you caulked. So I'm just filling these in, make them nice and flat and smooth. And this will be my filler. And then come back and caulk for good tomorrow. We're in the home stretch now. I just got done taping everything up. I decided I'm going to go ahead and spray the white. These are getting white. The fronts of the treads are getting white, and also the skirt boards. So basically everything that's not treads and handrails is going to be painted white. I can do that by hand with a brush. I don't mind doing it with a brush, but these are going to be a pain to do with the brush, and I know they're going to take multiple coats with the white to cover this. So I decided to take the time to tape it up, hit it with the spray gun, and it should be a lot faster. So now that all the tedious work of taping this up is done, I can get to spraying. The last thing to do before I paint is to rough all this up with some 320. It's actually smoothing it out or roughing it up, one of the two. It's giving the existing wood a little bit of tooth to stick to, for the paint to stick to, and also kind of cleaning up anything that might be on there. Give me a chance for the last check to see if there's any dirt or anything like that on here. These look pretty clean, so this will just take a minute to rough them up. And I'm going to be painting. For the first coat of finish, I'm going to be using a Kills primer. This one's Kills High Doll. There's a bunch of different Kills brands, Kills products. This one's water-based. I'm using that because I'm inside, it's a lot easier to use. Don't have to fume up the whole house. I like the Kills products because they sand well. So I'm going to be shooting that here in a minute. The Kills is really thick, so I thinned it down with water, and that'll just help it spray better in the gun. I got 2 coats of Kills on everything, but the balusters were not taking finish very deeply. They're oak and they had a really deep grain. So I ended up having to go over those with a final coat of Kills with a brush so I could kind of work it in. I showed a close up here so you can kind of see how I'm really having to force it in there. It took a little while, but it really needed it because the spray gun just wasn't getting down deep in there. So before I left yesterday, I got all the priming done. I can tell after I did the priming that on these lower kick plates, the ones that were original, not the ones that I newly installed, they were a lot rougher than I thought. So I'm going to actually have to sand on that primer some today, probably do a couple more fills, prime it again to get everything back to get a good base coat for what I'm going to paint, and then hopefully put the last coat of paint on today. So that's the plan. I'm just using drywall mud for these repairs. Works good. You have to just, takes a little bit to dry, but it sands easily and fills all these little spots pretty good. I've got 2 coats of primer on the balusters, so now I just gotta hit it with 320, smooth this down a little bit, and then I can hit it with a final coat of paint. So the balusters are all done as far as the priming goes. I am waiting for a little bit of finish and spot prime to dry on the front of the kick plates. So while that's happening, I'm going to start painting these with the final coats. The paint, made by Bear, you can't read it. This is the paint that they had that they're using here on the job site. So I'm going to use it. I've never used it before. It's a urethane alkyd enamel. Basically it's water based, but it works like an oil. We're going to see how it goes. So I'm going to start doing that right now. The pores on this oak are super deep, so I really got to work it in there to Cover it all up. Don't have that much time to work. This stuff's already starting to set up. So I got painting yesterday, and I did the spindles, balusters, and they were coming out pretty good. It's new paint to me, and it seemed to be all right. It seemed a little sticky, but it seemed okay. I got all them done, and they looked all right. Seemed fine. Since I had the brush in my hand, and seemed to be brushing okay, I went ahead and started painting the fronts of the stairs and the skirt boards on the side, and I had a terrible time with it. It might have been the worst time of painting I've ever had in my life. It went on thick and gummy, kind of like glue. It's kind of hard to spread. Once I got it spread, if I put it on wet enough to make it spread, then it also wanted to sag and run. So I'd get it flowed out pretty well, and then I'd see a run start. So I tried to hit that to knock the run down, and it just got worse from there. And I just kept coming down. I was like, well, I'll go ahead and keep working on it and see if I can't figure this out. And it didn't get any better. So I went ahead and finished it up as good as I could with what I had yesterday. Everything has the same number of coats on it. I'm going to call the balusters good. I'm going to call these a crap sandwich, and I let them dry. They feel pretty good. So I'm going to hit them with the Abernet right here, mesh 320, and I'm using the Abernet because it will sand pretty well on this without clogging up. Sandpaper, usually when you're doing paint, the main problem with sandpaper is that it just clogs up. It's still sharp, but it clogs up, so it won't do its job. So this Abernet works good to keep the paint will go through there, hopefully not stick as much, get sucked up in there, and not clog up the paper. So I'm going to go through here, sand all these down, and then I read some reviews about the paint, put it in my paint gun, and spray this finish. I think I should be able to do that well. If I can't, then I need to go home. So I mixed up the paint right here. I'm outside, and I just got it to where I think it's flowing pretty nice. Mixed about 20% water in it. So the next thing to do is to spray. I've been doing a little bit right here already, spraying some cardboard, just to kind of get a feel for how it's flowing. What I'd like to do is just spray on the cardboard and see how much I can get on it until it starts to run. Then I know I need to back up from that a little bit. It's important to be able to do that with the white specifically, because I'll be in the corners or even on flat areas of white where there's no sheen on it. You can't really see how much you're putting down, so you have to have a feel for how much flow you've got and how fast you need to move so you don't run it. So I'll do that, I'll test on a cardboard and see how it comes out. Well, obviously that's not going to run. I'm not covering very well. So I'm going to see if I can go a little bit more. Now I can see, maybe not on the camera, but I can see that it's one to run right there, so that's too slow. What I'm probably going to do is shoot a little bit of it, like this. A coat that I know is not going to run. Let it flash off for a second, so it's starting to get sticky, so it's starting to hold. And then come over, get a little bit more on it. Hopefully get a full coat. That's what I'm going to do next. Looks like I backed up into a baluster on that one. I just sanded a couple spots, a little touch up, and 3 or 4 of these treads, and it's the front of the treads, we'll be all done. Now the fun part. I get to peel tape. Since I use a super durable finish for the treads, any of this paint that bled through, most of this is primer, but that bled through the tape, I can just wash off with a damp cloth, and I wrap it around the putty knife like this, and it'll come right off. If I had to go a little bit stronger on solvents, I could too, because this crystal, once it's set up, it's strong against a lot of solvents too, so I could be a little bit more aggressive if I needed to. Isn't that really nice? And that's a wrap for these stairs. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe below. When you subscribe, all it means is that videos move up to your home screen. It makes it easier for you to find the videos. Thanks again, and see you in the next video. If you know how to paint or use any tools, you can come in. Oh, Porter's here to help.